If you're not willing to change, don't expect your life to. With the advent of so many technologies that extract away from the challenging aspects of programming, there are a few small things we can do to break our habits and make us more concise and knowledgeable programmers. Today we're going to talk about some tips on how to make your JavaScript more readable and how you can use those in your code. Now is your chance to drop a like or subscribe if you like my content and want to see more. So say you have an object that describes a car. It has a bunch of properties like wheels, color, doors, and things like that. And you want to console log some values about it. Most people would do something like this. They would console.log and they would do car.fuel, car.color, car.make, car.model, and it might get used 100 times down the line. But what if I told you there's a better way to do this? Destructuring is a way to destructure properties from an object without having to repeat the identifier many times. So we can actually rewrite this console.log like this and actually make it this. We can console.log in a much more concise way without having to repeat the identifier car. So say that we again have this car object and we want to console.log something about it. A lot of people would console.log just like this. They would append the string to the end of the string and you would make one long string. But there's actually a better way to do this, and it's called string interpolation. So just like this, we can actually inline our strings inside of the string with interpolation. You can see we use the $ in the bracket and put the variable inside of it. And this will actually interpolate the string inside of the string without having to do any of this mess of pluses and the single ticks. So say we want to merge the properties of two objects. So we have an animal called penguin and its attributes of type bird and climate cold. The old way of doing this would be using object.assign to make one object, and it would merge the two objects together. But in newer JavaScript, there's a much cleaner way to do it. This is called the spread operator. The spread operator is going to take all of these properties from inside this object and merge it into this object here. And we're going to do the same thing with the animal, and we're going to create one large object. This is going to create a new object that you can actually work with, and it's a much more clean and concise way to actually create a new object. So say you have some asynchronous function that returns a promise. We can see that we've defined that here as Promise.resolve 5. You might have many cases where you retrieve something from the database or use some kind of asynchronous function, and you're going to use .then because it's a promise. So you're going to see something like this, and people jokingly call it the promise Christmas tree because it keeps going out and out like a Christmas tree. But how can we do this in a better way? We can do it like this. Async await is a powerful operator in JavaScript that allows you to await a promise instead of using this bulky .then syntax. Async awaits require you to have the function as asynchronous. So our code like this would actually be wrapped in an asynchronous function and look like this. Async just says that the function is always going to return a promise because we're doing asynchronous things inside of here. And by using this await keyword, we can actually simplify our logic down from 10 lines to 3. Now say that we want to access all these values at once. In a normal asynchronous flow, it would do this promise value, and then the next promise value, then the next promise value. But in some cases, that's unoptimal. We might run really long, and we might need to access the data all at once for optimization reasons. This is where the accessor Promise.all comes. Promise.all looks like this. It takes all of the promises that you pass in and wait until they all resolve, but it'll do them all at once. And we can see that we resolve the values on the left side in this bracket destructuring syntax, and we get value 1, 2, and 3, and you can use them in the exact same way. But what this is going to do is actually execute all these promises at once. So if these are 3 API calls, all 3 API calls would happen at once, and you wouldn't have to wait one at a time for them to each finish, because that could take a long time. If you guys like the JavaScript content or just programming content in general, please drop a like and subscribe. I will be pushing out more content on the daily and maybe do a stream here and there. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.